Welcome to Family Business World. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell. Thank you for joining us, and I have another outstanding guest, Jeffrey Wasserman from Curcio Mirzaian Sirot. Jeff, it's so nice to see you. We've spent a number of good breakfasts together, so how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me to participate.
So what I like to do is, one, talk a little bit about the law firm. You're a partner there. What is the specialty? And then I want to find out a little more about you.
Sure. So I'm a corporate partner at Curcio Mirzaian Sirot. We're about a 20-person law firm located in Roseland, New Jersey. We also have offices in New York as well. We are a full-service law firm that focuses on corporate litigation and employment law. My main practice area is small businesses, from startups to $100 million of revenue, and I act as what some would refer to as outside general counsel to my clients.
Well, and again, and you're extraordinary at what you've done, and you've done it for a couple different firms, so you're well known. But I always like to find out about my guests, and so where were you born? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? And how'd you end up where you are now?
Sure. So I'm born and raised in New Jersey. I grew up in Caldwell, New Jersey.
Nice.
And lived there until I went to college. I went down to New Orleans for undergraduate studies at Tulane. Mm-hmm. And then I came back home to New Jersey and graduated from Seton Hall Law School. From Seton, I then moved to, I stayed local. Mm-hmm. I lived in Montville, New Jersey for the last 22 years. And, after law school, I started practicing in New York at two main law firms, Mayer Brown and Platt and Morgan, Lewis and Bacchius. And then in 2003, I left and started practicing in New Jersey.
Wonderful, wonderful. I always tell people who are in Caldwell this story. So my last name is Caldwell. And actually I was doing research years ago and found the Caldwell plantation in North Carolina. This guy, David Caldwell, had actually founded the plantation. There was an article about my great-great-great-grandmother was married to someone named Revels who was on the Caldwell plantation. But it turns out David Caldwell, I went to Princeton undergrad, went to Princeton, and James Caldwell, his cousin, the namesake for Caldwell, New Jersey, went to Princeton as well. So I've always wanted to live, there's a sign off of, I think, 280 that says the Caldwells. I always wanted to buy a house there and say, have a sign for the Caldwells. So.
Well, in addition, you got Grover Cleveland, who was from Caldwell as well.
Exactly, from Caldwell, New Jersey. So you really are an expert in kind of the family business, and this is just, I'm sure you've never seen a time like this for family and small businesses. What are you finding now? Many of your clients, I'm sure, got the PPP. What are some of the issues that you're working with your clients right now?
Well, I would put them into two buckets. I would put them into one bucket would be kind of the retails, family-owned businesses, and then, maybe the manufacturers or non-retail oriented family-owned businesses. I guess from a 40,000-foot view, it's really kind of sad what's happened over the last 90 days. Mm-hmm. New Jersey has lost tens of thousands of small businesses that will probably never reopen. Yeah. Doing a lot of work in Pennsylvania, I can tell you that 30 to 35,000 small businesses have shut down in Pennsylvania.
Really?
So
wow.
it's really it's sad. It's really a tough time for small business owners, especially the retail folks. I think landlords have been trying to figure out ways to help the retail businesses out, whether it's forgiveness of some short-term rent obligations or deferrals. But I think that overall, the good thing is that if you're able to survive the past 90 days of the downturn, mm-hmm. that I think that there's blue sky ahead for those that can, stay on their feet and keep going. Unfortunately, a lot of those folks don't have the wherewithal to have kept going, but to the extent that they were able to, borrow or find ways to get creative in terms of pushing back obligations and try and get through, June and into July, I think a lot of them will be saved.
Yeah, that's because I really haven't heard the specific numbers, but I know it's going to be in the thousands. And what really, and one of the reasons I do this show is, and the reason I'm at the Rothman Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, is to let people know this is a small business country. Jobs are with small businesses, but it just seems that the people in charge don't seem to understand that. And so as you worked with your clients as they went through this process and you look back, what would you, if you're doing it over, advising them, what would you advise a family business to do if they were, looking for PPP, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I think, in my opinion, the PPP it's a great concept. It was well constructed. I think that the banks did not have enough time to really get their act together and allow family business owners to really get through the process as easy as it should have been. I know a couple of banks, Wells Fargo, for example, had kind of taken care of some of their more important clients as opposed to whoever was in the queue. So if you were a small business with a Main Street bank and you had been on top of this, and let's say you were the number 1 application, that's not to say that they processed your application first. So I think diligence, I think better communication out of Washington to small businesses. I think banks providing email notifications to their clients to really help them with the process would have been a lot better for the small business owners. I think as far as preparing for something like this, I'm only 49 years old, so this is the first time I've ever seen something as crazy as what happened. But right. I think cash management's got to be number 1. I think that small family business owners usually are living on the cash flow that they make, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. It's kind of the rules of the road. But I think that having the ability to put some money away for a rainy day is always good advice. Who knew that it was going to last, 4 months, possibly longer? But it's tough. It's hard to plan for things like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I think is so important is relationships. That one of the things I've seen is that the folks that had a good relationship with their banker, whether it's a big bank or a small bank, really were able to kind of get through this, where others who've never really talked to their bank are kind of left with their hat in their hand.
Yeah.
And same thing with the landlord, your landowner and so on, and your leaser. And did you find that the relationships are really, really important?
I think that's right. I think having monthly conversations with your bank, having monthly conversations with your landowner, your landlords, and then obviously having constant communications with your suppliers and your customers. Obviously, if your customers are folks that are walking in off the street, then that's one thing. But if you're a business that's selling to other companies, B2Bs, having that open communication with those customers is valuable, because if they're not getting paid, then you're not getting paid, and it's like just bad things rolling down a hill.
Yeah.
And being at some point you're in that line of dominoes that if you're not getting paid because the guy before you is not getting paid, well, you got to figure out what to do, because I'm sure there's someone behind you that you have to pay.
Exactly. And I actually have advanced with some of my friends in money management and others this idea of suspended financial animation. That if government's going to stop business that way, they really should think about, okay, we'll subsidize the holder of the last money. So, but bills stop. So I would probably largely be banks that would get it, because the people who own property, you're going to have to pay. So the bank says, you don't owe me. We don't own rent. You don't own. But they really didn't do that, and so a lot of people were left with their hat in their hand, and and we're left to negotiate. And it really really is very, very disappointing. I was just talking to, I have a client in Baltimore, and they were telling me Baltimore hasn't opened. I mean, Jersey is open for outdoor dining, and that's crazy. And that's, you know, that every day that goes by, these businesses, and it's you know, I want your thoughts of the, you know, politicians, and it's not conservative or liberal or anything, they seem to be tone deaf to the power of small business. You know, have you seen that?
Well, you know, I think that politicians work on, you know, the last thing that they heard or were affected by. You know, I think some politicians are a little bit more aggressive. I feel personally that this is a terrible virus, and that can't be forgotten.
Right.
I do feel that, you know, in modern society, you know, we have to take risks, and no one knows risk better than small family businesses.
Exactly.
And I think that as a state, as a country, we need to open up businesses sooner rather than later. Every day that ticks by is a day that a family business is closer to shutting down. So I was down in Florida a few weeks ago. And obviously, they're a little bit more out there in terms of opening things up quicker than other states. You know, I went to a Chili's for dinner the first day that they opened up.
Wow. Wow.
And no one was there. There was like 5 people.
Wow.
And you know, I took my daughter to Fridays yesterday in New Jersey. We did outdoor dining. It was jammed.
Yeah.
And I think that each part of the country feels a little bit differently in terms of, you know, the risk that they're willing to take. But I think as a society, we need to open up business and get things going.
Well, one of the challenges that, and I've written a number of articles here about the virus and family businesses and veteran businesses, is that, you know, politicians, many of them didn't come from business. They came from big business. Some came from law firms. You know, that big businesses have extra money to hire lobbyists. Unions have extra money to hire lobbyists. The family businesses are living on tight margins. They can't hire lobbyists. So the politicians don't hear anything about small businesses, so they figure they're doing okay. And we're seeing that response here, that they're saying, oh, they can survive. Oh, you're a $30 million business. You can survive. But as you and I know, a bad 6 months can put a $100 million business out of business.
Well, look at 24-Hour Fitness. I mean, $2 billion, New York Stock Exchange company. They filed for bankruptcy 2 days ago.
Wow. Wow.
So, you know, what's interesting is, you know, Governor Murphy being from Goldman Sachs, you know, and the markets, Goldman Sachs just announced a partnership with Amazon to start lending to small businesses.
Oh, interesting. Oh, right. Interesting.
And you would think that a Wall Street guy like Governor Murphy would know that, you know, small businesses become big businesses and big businesses become really big businesses. And if you don't start at the bottom, what you're going to have is Darwinism, which is the biggest companies that with the best balance sheets are going to steamroll the small businesses. And then you're going to have a lot of empty real estate and, and a lot of people on unemployment and a lot of people making money below the average income line, right into the poverty line. We're
going to break we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll come back in a few minutes and pick up where we left off.
Okay.
I want to be a contender. I want a warm belly to sleep on.
A big house.
How do I look? Do I look good?
I want to play hard.
My nails done once a month.
I want
a home.
I just want a home. I want someone to love.
Last year, more than 30,000 companion animals came to us without homes. 20,000 of them were felines. Let's make some homes together.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark Iorio. I'm the host of Rainmakers Roundup right here on RVN TV. The show is about looking for people who are in competitive businesses that are doing something different and unique in the world of sales and marketing. Join me right here on Rainmakers Roundup on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. and then again on Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. right here on RVN TV.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacqueline. Take charge of your life personally,
financially and professionally. Visit drjacqueline.com to book an appointment today.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
We're coming back with Jeffrey Wasserman. We were just talking about small business. We were actually in the break talking about tennis. We're both big tennis fans, and hopefully we'll get out and get a chance to play. But Jeffrey, picking up where we talked before, I wrote an article in NJ Biz, really talking about this cyclical problem that government, small businesses aren't making revenue, so they can't pay the taxes, so the government can subsidize small businesses so they can pay the taxes. And so you have this cycle. And so one of the things that I'm recommending is that public agencies should report how much they spend with New Jersey veteran certified, women certified, minority certified businesses. So that money is there. It's, why not spend it in the state? People don't realize how much money is spent out of state. Why don't we support these businesses locally? So I've gotten to the governor's office. They haven't done anything. But, people think that lawsuits are there are going to be a lot of lawsuits after this is all done. Landlord, tenant, other things. Do you get a sense that that's going to happen? It's going to, pick up when things clear up?
Well, you're seeing that now. Mm-hmm. You are seeing a number of landmark cases that are on the docket in terms of force majeure clauses mm-hmm. in the real estate leases. Backing out of mergers and acquisition agreements. Mm-hmm. You see a lot of high profile. For example, Victoria's Secret was under agreement to be acquired by Sycamore Ventures down in Princeton. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Sycamore tried to get out of that deal. They ended up getting out of that deal not because of a force majeure, but because of a breach of a pre-closing covenant.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
The current state of play with the leases is that, if you read some of the articles from some of the high-profile folks that like to talk, mm-hmm. The force majeure clauses are not drafted very friendly mm-hmm. towards the tenant. So the idea, though, is the government shut me down. Mm-hmm. It's out of my control. Right. I believe the president actually said that we were in a war. So a lot of tenants have taken the point of view that this is a wartime.
Interesting.
And as such, the force majeure clause should kick in and I should not have to pay rent. And the articles are coming out saying that the force majeure clauses are not very helpful for the tenant. And so the cases are scheduled to start hitting the courts in the coming months. I will say that state governors like Cuomo and Murphy have given some kind of moratorium that landlords were not allowed to do anything to their tenants for a period of time.
Right.
What I am seeing with kind of feet on the ground is that landlords are deferring some of the rent which means that they're not saying don't pay it, they're just restructuring the rent payments. And what they're also doing is they are trying to get the tenants to re-up for an extension period. And by re-upping on the extension period, they are giving some free rent under those scenarios. So a lot of the strip malls, as you would think, they had some Subways, sometimes they have an anchor tenant like a Marshall's, sometimes there's gyms. Those gyms are going to have a problem. Like I said, 24-Hour Fitness just filed for bankruptcy. LA Fitness is having some financial issues. Planet Fitness, I don't know where they're going to end up. But a lot of these strip mall landlords and some of the commercial landlords, they're going to have some problems. And so they're going to have to get creative because they have to pay their mortgage on the property. And I think that when it comes to commercial space, if you're a small business that really doesn't have a storefront, I think that, again, I think you'll have some, while you may not have legal rights under your lease to get out of it, I think you might have some leverage in terms of an opportunity to walk into the landlord. And this kind of goes back to your point about relationships. Which is if you have a good rapport with your landlord, they're always willing to talk. And I think that in the next, well, you're seeing it today, but I think it'll really start playing out over the next 12 to 24 months. I think the square footage of businesses that occupy commercial space will start getting reduced in a significant way. I think we've all figured out a way to work from home. I think we've all are adults in terms of, when left alone, we can actually be productive. We don't have to be in an office setting. And I think that when you do need to go in the office, that there's space. And my guess is that aside from compensation or salaries to your employees, real estate is probably number 2 in terms of your cost for running the business. And if you can figure out a way to decrease that cost, as a business, you're going to be more profitable. And I think that those conversations are good conversations to have with your landlord.
Well, this is a dream come true for online retailers. Amazon couldn't have asked for a better situation. And that, as you said, people are realizing space and so on, but the retail, people aren't going to visit retail as much. I was one that really refused. I always wanted to support small businesses by going into the local store and buying. I couldn't do that, so I had to buy stuff online. And more people said, hey, this is really easy. And this is where I think government needs to step in, that it's not just about, efficiency, allowing technology to get rid of jobs. Government really needs to step in on behalf. And so on my Friday show, our Family Business Friday show, I always give these slides, and I show the impact of the 2009 unemployment. 700,000 was the peak there. We're 40 million now, and it's because of small businesses. And so I'm hoping that, and I need your help and others, you guys in professional services know that family and small businesses are really where your business is at. It's just government doesn't seem to really understand that. And they often think, as I said, that they're rich. And so I'm trying to get this message, because I'm at a university, that, hey, it is about small business. We've got to do everything we can to prop up these businesses and support them. But still, I'm seeing the delay, and there was a lot of pushback on this weekend because it was a beautiful weekend, and we were all waiting till Monday to go outside. That was tens of thousands of dollars that restaurants could have made this weekend if we just relax that. And I just don't understand that. I don't know what you think.
Well, I think the other thing that you probably want to add to your list is the fact that the government is, the average employee makes, in small businesses, probably minimum wage or just about minimum wage. And when you have the government subsidizing unemployment to the tune of $600 on top of whatever their current unemployment benefits are, you have a guy who's making $20,000 who's now making $50,000. And so, one of the biggest problems that I foresee for small businesses, and medium-sized businesses for that matter, is getting those employees to come back to work. Because it's a lot easier to sit home making, unemployment insurance, including the extra $600 a week. But one of the biggest costs for small business is the time and money it takes to train. And
exactly.
So how do you get those people back? And, I do believe that we need to take care of the unemployed, but I think that where jobs are available for them, take the restaurant or the small business that's, the pizzeria that's trying to open up. How do we get those employees to come back into the store to help run it and help the business owners, manage on a going forward basis, as opposed to trying to find someone new to help? Because again, that's, there's training costs, there's time, and so I think there's a balance. But I think that if we can figure out as a society on how to get those people off unemployment and back to the stores and the businesses, I think that will supercharge the small businesses getting back to where they used to be.
Well, and I think that $600 could have been used to actually pay people while they're working.
Yes.
To really subsidize their work. That would help the small businesses. It would still help the people. They would be working, and so you can, those kinds of things. But it really is just fascinating how government is just so out of touch. And again, this is not, I think we spend so much time on this political thing that are you conservative, are you liberal, are you pro, anti? And so, because again, I'm the Secretary of the Treasury, and it's, I remember that the first day that PPP was announced, he literally said, well, you can get your money in a day. Literally said that on the news, that you can get that money. And I'm not just beating it, but it was like one of the most incredible things. I used to be a deputy commissioner of the Department of Community Affairs. I've been in government. You can't do anything in a day. Literally. You can't. And so, and I don't think he was necessarily trying to lie or something, but it's and they just don't understand that. So let's change. We're on this family business show.
It's interesting also, to your point, is, when the government shuts down, or whether we have the last, 3-4 months of shutdown with COVID, our elected leaders are still getting paid. So they're not feeling a crunch.
Yep, exactly, and a lot of other folks aren't. So I want to switch gears, because one of the biggest subjects, and it's going to be a big one again, is with family businesses, is family conflict. So I'm sure you've had your share. In fact, one of my next guests is going to be open about some of the family conflict that he's experienced. Talk to me about that. People are in tight spaces, businesses are shuttered, so I can imagine there's going to be all sorts of family conflicts and lawsuits coming out. And thoughts about that, and I think we're near the end of the show, but I want you to talk a little bit about that and what you've seen and any advice you have for family businesses around conflict.
Yeah, so with businesses that have been shut down, I find that most of the conflicts really start out of a need for cash. The business isn't doing well. I need money. Maybe one person was, one partner was able to save more than the other, so they could ride the storm a little bit better than the other. Sometimes in these kind of downturns where everyone's sitting at home, and they have time to think, as opposed to running, 20 hours a day to run their business. And they say, my brother or my sister or my cousin, whoever the partner is, they just really don't pull their weight. So then they have this internal conflict, and it grows, right? When you sit around and you're doing nothing other than thinking. And so I think in the coming months, between, my brother or sister, they don't work as hard as I do. I want them out. One person saying, I need money today, and there really is no money, and so now that the partner's asking for a loan from the other partner. I think you're spot on. I think the conflict is going to kick up. It's going to be, unfortunately, more prevalent on a going forward basis. Yeah. And I would simply say that the best way to figure out how to deal with these is up front. Yeah. Have shareholder agreements, have buyout agreements, have a legal document where there are rules of the road in the event that one partner just kind of throws their hand up and says, I need an exit.
Yeah, yeah.
That way, you're not negotiating on the spot,
right,
under duress.
Yeah.
You know, if one partner's, you know, kind of handling the finance and the other one's handling sales or operations, you know, and the person that's, you know, in finance raises their hand saying, I need money, and now you're like, oh my God, you know, is this guy really the right guy to handle the finance when he's broke?
See, that's a great point. We're at the end of the show, unfortunately. These things always go very quickly. Yeah. But Jeffrey Wasserman, thank you so very much. This is great insight. We'll continue the conversation, maybe even have you back on the show. So I want to thank everybody for joining us for Family Business World, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.